Comic-Con Live, presented by Fandom and Twitch. I'm Anna Prost, and thrilled to be back with you here on stage with my co-host Swifter, because we are about to talk about something very near and dear to my heart with our friends Meagan and Chris. We're celebrating 20 years of Tomb Raider right now.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Wow,
yeah.
20 years.
I'm just as excited as you guys, and there is so much to talk about. What did we just watch, Meagan?
We just watched the launch trailer, which Chris has been working really hard on with the team over at the studio. It's long because there's so much content to go through. It's crazy seeing it all presented to you at once.
Yeah. So people are probably, if people aren't familiar with the kind of like launch spectrum of Tomb Raider, where are we since the game was released? What's being released now? What are some of the new features we just saw? What's happening right now?
Yeah, you want to start with that, Chris?
Yeah, so Rise of the Tomb Raider 20-year celebration comes out this October 11th, so just this Tuesday, which is crazy, just a few days away. So the Rise of the Tomb Raider 20-year celebration includes all the content we've released so far with Rise of the Tomb Raider, all downloadable content, all outfits, and as well we're bringing new content to it as well. So we have the Blood Ties, which is new story content.
Cool.
Takes place in Lara's Manor, which is really awesome. Really exciting to see that in the modern timeline. As well as a VR support, which is a franchise first for us. So for the very first time, fans will be able to play the game through the eyes of Lara.
And seeing the fans play it when we put a headset on them and they get to stand and walk through Croft Manor. And it's funny because we say it's about an hour of content, but then when fans are playing in VR, they'll take like 2 hours or so on, because
there's
they'll
so much,
and look
there's
at
so much backstory, and you have to pick up every little item, and so it's great because as you do this, you get to learn more about Lara's backstory, about her growing up, her relationship with her father.
Yeah.
And there's also some mentions of some characters, some from previous games as well. So
references to butlers, maybe.
Oh my gosh! Both Swifter and I, when we saw VR, we were like, "What? What?
Right, yeah,
what?"
Yeah.
So it's really cool. That was franchise first. Our first step in for the studio, which was really cool. And then we have Lara's Nightmare.
Lara's Nightmare. Cool. So Lara's fighting off hordes of the undead inside her childhood home, as well as you saw those classic outfits, which are so cool because you have this like beautiful Rise of the Tomb Raider world with these polygonal skins, which are I know a fan favorite.
I know, and it's so funny because the really early ones, like her mouth doesn't actually move, because in the original game she would just nod her head in agreement whenever she was talking, and so it's so funny, and it really showcases the spectrum of how far the franchise has come, because you see these low poly models in this just absolutely stunning realistic worlds.
That's amazing.
And it's really a good example of 20 years of the game.
And then now we have co-op support as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
how does that work?
So there's a new mode called Endurance Mode, and so that's kind of Lara with a friend inside the Siberian wilderness, and it's a procedurally generated world. So every single time you play it, it's completely different. And so now you can raid tombs for a friend for the very first time too. So for a bunch of firsts for the franchise.
And how does that work? Is that couch co-op or is it online?
Online.
Awesome. Yeah. So streamers can play it together.
Yeah, that's great game.
And the team was really smart and tricky. They made it so both players look like they're playing Lara.
Oh.
Yeah, so because everybody wants to be Lara, right? So
I'm Lara. I'm Lara.
Yeah,
I'm Lara.
But the dialogue, no, they don't say each other's names. They say her. And so it's like they were really smart about it, so that everybody still gets to play Lara, and they get to go and try to survive the wilderness with Nadia, a really cool character.
That is so fun.
Yeah, it's a really my survival chances are much better playing with someone.
Totally.
I'm always going in trying to, because you have to balance basically your heat and you have to stay warm and you have to stay fed and so on. And I always just run into a tomb and try to find something and then starve. So with someone else, at least they can revive me.
So that's going to be available across platforms, right?
Across platforms. And also the very first week of launch, we're also giving all players 100,000 in-game credits, which is used in our expedition modes, which are really fun. So these are kind of the score attacks and the endurance modes. You can use those to purchase player card packs, and that kind of changes your experience, whether it's kind of funny in nature, you can have a big head mode or something like that, or you can actually change weapons and stuff. So it's a really fun way to kind of change up your gameplay.
And you can really, because a lot of these expedition modes, like the score attack, remnant resistance, endurance, and Lara's Nightmare, they're all based on leaderboards. So you want to try to make it to the top of the leaderboards. And so you can use certain cards will make things easier, like big head mode, because it's easier to headshots. So you get, it decreases your score slightly. But then some of them you can make it much harder on yourself to get a score modifier, like a multiplier, and they're hard, but it's like a good way to climb the leaderboard. So these cards are really fun, and it's a fun way to change up the game and make it even more replayable, which is cool.
Awesome. Well, I know that that's not the only thing that's going on celebrating the 20th anniversary. What else do we have to look forward to right now?
It's been like a whole year of announcing stuff, which has been really great. So one of the first things we announced early in the year was a concert. So Nathan McCree, who is the original franchise composer for the first 3 games, he is doing a CD and a concert, and the concert's in December of this year in London. And he's like reworking and remastering his original tracks, that iconic Tomb Raider theme, which is so good. And that was one of them. We're doing a statue series, which I think we debuted with you guys last year, and the audience voted on that. They chose Angel of Darkness, which I knew they would. I was like, you put Angel of Darkness out there as an option, they're going to choose it because it's a fan favorite. And then we are doing Tomb Raider Archives, which Dark Horse is going to re-release all of the original Tomb Raider Top Cow comics.
Wow.
And so they're the ones from 99. Really hard to find them now. And so they're being released in this really beautiful oversized edition. It's going to be like 1,000-something pages by the time it was done. And it'll collect all of like the one-shots and Tomb Raider Journeys too, which is very hard to find. You know, these, again, are really hard to find comics. And then I had the honor and huge responsibility. It was kind of terrifying, but to be able to write the Tomb Raider 20 book, which comes out later.
It's gigantic, by the way. It's like an encyclopedia
all of these
volume.
words. There's so many in there.
Dude, I always have to give a shout out to Prima because they're so amazing. Because they asked me for 80,000 words, and I gave them 200,000 words, and they kept most of them. They just kept giving me more pages.
Wow.
So like they're amazing.
It's an amazing book, and amazing achievement by Meagan. And the fans as well, because the fans also.
We have 100 pages dedicated just to our fans.
Yeah.
So
Really?
we have cosplayers and level editors and people with Tomb Raider tattoos and Tomb Raider collections, because Tomb Raider is bigger than any one company. It's so big in the public consciousness that it belongs to the fans too. And so we wanted to make sure that they had, some representation.
Absolutely.
But it covers the games, it covers the movies, the comics, a bunch of weird, obscure things like the Tomb Raider race car.
Oh, wow.
Like all this kind of stuff.
That's amazing. So, I mean, having written this, you, as far as I remember, you've been delving way into the history of Tomb Raider. You know so much about this franchise and how it came to be. What has kind of stuck with you after doing all that research?
Oh, there's so many things that were really amazing. I don't have a lot of history of working with anything related to Hollywood, so it was really cool talking to the set dresser from the movies about, all of the thought put into that kind of stuff. But it was really, I think the fan letters was the thing, because we have a section called Dear Lara in there, and it's letters from people writing to Lara as if she is a real person and saying, thank you for doing this and changing my life in this way. And they're amazing stories, like being in a car accident and learning to walk again because she was inspired by Lara.
Wow.
So they're really amazing, heartfelt stories. And as a Tomb Raider fan since I was 12, they resonate with me. And so those kind of stick with me, and I really enjoy those.
Absolutely. I mean, Lara's been around since we struggle to get representation for great women characters in games still, but it's a lot better now than it was when Lara first started being around.
It was
she
a
one of
risk.
the only
They admitted, when talking to them, they said it was a risk. Like, we were like, are you crazy? You think that can we make a game with a female lead, sell and do really well? And they took the risk, and it was so worth it.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I know she was a role model for me, and she was one of the few main game characters that I could latch onto and be like, she's kind of like me, and I can be badass like her.
I was like, she's a woman and she has brown hair. That's enough.
Yeah,
that's all I need.
Yeah, and I know you've been a pretty long time fan of Tomb Raider.
Oh
as
yeah,
well,
no,
Swifter.
it's always like a new adventure, and there's like such a cool story to each of the games as well.
Yeah.
You just never know what to expect, so always fun to go through.
Yeah. And even though the character has changed so much over the years, I think that so much of her is still the same. With Reboot Lara, she's still so intelligent and adventurous and ambitious, and she's very brave and strong. But I also appreciate that she's very, she's flawed, and she's not always brave. And sometimes, she has courage, but she has to push through that fear to be courageous. And, she doesn't always have the answers, and sometimes she doubts herself. So I love that even though she's still the same character, she feels very fresh. And there's something for people to identify with it's aspirational, because they can see themselves in her.
Right, no, absolutely. She's very badass, but also very, very human too, and easy to relate to in that way. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was that change like? Because I remember when the reboot kind of happened, I was so used to Lara being this infallible, just badass, can handle anything, never ruffled by anything. But then we kind of saw this glimpse into her humanity.
Yeah.
And how did that seem to affect people and fans?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's a scary thing to change a franchise that is so seasoned, and so I think that maybe fans were a little nervous at first when she first debuted, and is this still Lara? But I think that as you play the games, and especially the change between Reboot and Rise, you start to see her really embracing her destiny, and she's like accepting her destiny as the Tomb Raider and realizing that she is especially capable of finding these lost places and solving these lost mysteries and so on. I think that people are definitely seeing that it is Lara. It's still Lara Croft. So.
Right.
This is so much amazing history.
It's ridiculous.
I mean,
I went overboard, but I hope you guys like it.
I keep seeing these pages and being like, "Ooh, I want to read that part. And I want to read that part."
Is that book out like right now?
October 25th.
25th. All right.
Which I just realized a few minutes ago is literally the 20-year anniversary. So it's
it's
kind of
right
cool.
on the dot.
I never put two and two together. Yeah, so that's cool.
That's amazing.
We do have some questions from the audience, and we can talk them over. Yeah, because I know we have more questions about the game. So we collected a bunch of questions from Twitter, but a bunch of you people on Twitter were asking questions about future games, which we can't talk about. So I had to be kind of picky about this stuff because we're not ready to talk about the future beyond. We got to get this game out, right?
Yes.
Get this one out. Let's make it through Tuesday, and then we'll figure it out. So Toki 2007 asks, which platforms will it be available for? He's talking about Rise of the Tomb Raider 20-year celebration.
Yep. So it's going to be available on PlayStation 4 October 11th, but it's also available via download on Xbox One as well as PC.
Yes. So if you already have the season pass, you get all this content for free. So if you've already played it, you get all of the Croft Manor stuff, the co-op, the skins, all of that, which is really cool.
That's great.
All right, so Tomb Raider fan X asks, why does Croft Manor look so different in Rise of the Tomb Raider? So,
well, this is now the modern timeline of this is our expression of what the manor looks like, and it's got our lens of our grit and survival in there as well. So that's kind of what we'd expect. And
but it's still, again, it's inspired by all the different types of Croft Manors in the past. Like it has to feel like Croft Manor. So you still have that grand staircase and entry hall with like the two staircases that go up to either side, and there's suits of armor around there. So it feels
as you go through the manor, there's lots of little nods to throughout the franchise. While this does do the modern story,
definitely,
it's great.
When you say the modern timeline, that's really interesting because I never thought of the fact that the original Tomb Raider games were modern in their time, and now doing modern for now is different than that modern. So this was a conscious decision not to place this timeline when Tomb Raider began, but instead to put it now in the modern 2016 world.
Well, the 2013 since we rebooted the franchise.
Yeah, cool. So she's an iPhone in one of her. She's like a modern cell phone in one of the original things, and she was wearing Beats by Dre headphones at one point.
Really?
Yeah.
The very first trailer,
on the Endurance. I'm sure she lost them in the crash, though.
They didn't make
too
it.
bad.
All right. So Rhiannon asks, is there any specific myth you would like to see in a Tomb Raider game? What's your favorite so far?
Ooh.
Well, I just love. There's so many, and I just love how it's all based in this like fact-based fiction world, which was really. I love history. I'm a big history buff, so.
Yeah, and the team always tries to look for myths. So we're not going to answer specifically because, like, anytime we speculate on something, it can be used as this is what's happening.
That's confirmation.
Yeah, so we don't speculate. But I really like the team likes to do these Googleable myths. So they're not necessarily myths that everybody knows and learned in school, but if you Google it, you can get a bunch of resources on it. And so it's kind of just like one step outside of common knowledge. But so that's like Wikitesh for Rise of the Tomb Raider. That was one that was very interesting to the team, and so they're always looking for ones that are very fresh. So I think they're good at that. They're good at selecting interesting myths.
Suggest any of their favorite little Googleable myths? Should they tweet them at you?
They can always suggest them. I feel like
keep asking enough, then maybe we might do it. So
okay. Mason is asking, what happened to Lara's butler?
Ooh.
We're not going to answer that explicitly, but we will say there's some throwbacks in the manor that maybe relate to a certain butler, which we think that classic fans will really enjoy.
And if we're in the modern timeline, she probably just doesn't have that butler yet, right? I mean,
well, that's what we're saying. Like there are
memories. So she has like memory bubbles. So you explore the manor and you get these like sort of memories of her childhood. And so maybe there was a figure in her childhood that was related to the
Gotcha.
All right. We had what happened to Lara's best friend Sam Nishimura after the events of Tomb Raider.
Yeah. And so it kind of did explain that in the comics as well as the novels. So so
she was a big character in the 2013 reboot. She's also a very active character in the 10,000 Immortals and in the current Dark Horse comics. So if you want to know what's going on with Sam, read the comics. That story is not finished yet. It's very intense right now.
So you can't spoil.
No. So she's not dead or anything like that. She's still kicking. She's still kicking.
She's having a little bit of a hard time though.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. All right.
So read the Dark Horse comics, and that will inform you on what's going on with Sam right now. All right. So Loader asks, will Croft Manor make a comeback in the next Tomb Raider games as a training level? That is, we can't speak too much to the future, but what we can say is that once you finish Rise of the Tomb Raider, you can still go back and explore Croft Manor in case you didn't find something, or there might be a couple of slightly different things or additions.
And you can always tune your skills in the expedition modes that we have in the game as well, because there's score attack, chapter replay, and there's also, we forgot one, extreme survivor difficulty mode.
Yeah, we did, yes.
What's that?
It's ridiculous.
That sounds very hard.
Yes, it is very, very difficult. It is like those fans that are looking for the ultimate challenge, going through the world, very minimal save points, very minimal resources, and the enemies are just very treacherous. So it is only for those that are looking for that very strong challenge.
Like looking for punishment, basically.
That sounds like a good salty stream.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't wait for that Twitch stream, that person that's like, been playing for 10 hours straight, no save points, and then dies at the very end. Oh man.
My God. Yeah, okay. So Immune asks, will we learn more about Lara's mother at some point? Yes. So Croft Manor. So the story of Croft Manor is essentially that in the Tomb Raider reboot, Lara had kind of stepped away from her heritage and her birthright in Croft Manor. She lived in a flat in London. She worked in a bar called the Nine Bells for money, right? So she came from money and wealth, but it was a very difficult thing for her to embrace because of past experiences in her family. It had difficult memories. And so she's starting to realize that Croft Manor not only has sentimental value, but it has a very relevant... it holds secrets that are very relevant to her current journey and trying to find these truths behind these myths. So she wants to reclaim Croft Manor and have it as part of her heritage again. But her uncle, Atlas, which is like the coolest name, I love that. Her uncle does not think she's in the right mindset to have it, so he's contesting ownership for the manor. And so Lara has to explore the manor and try to find her father's will in order to prove that it is her birthright and to get it back. And so as you're exploring the manor, you find out lots about her family and her father and her mother and other people.
And about Lara and why she is the way she is.
And about Lara and the things that she did when she was younger and how she got herself into trouble and all that kind of stuff. So it's really cool. And there's so many just fun tidbits in there. So yes, long answer. You will find out about it.
And you said Croft Manor is the place where there's VR integration, where I can go explore there in VR, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So, all right. So then we had a couple of just general questions. Are there Easter eggs? There are so many Easter eggs. I mean,
we've already hinted at one Easter egg.
And we crammed so many Easter eggs in there. We just had a couple meetings where we're like, what are all the fun things from the classic games we could put nods to in there, and how do they look in a modern setting?
What I dropped is one for us. There's so many. One Easter egg. Just one Easter egg.
I think that we've straight up said that there's a reference to Winston being locked in the freezer. So we've said that before. It's kind of a big one, but like the execution of it is so cute. Like it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense in the universe. So, but we were like, we have to. It's too good.
And there's so many stories in the games that we just can't tell about Lara, and so this area just allows us to really dig deep into all this backstory that our narrative teams have written about her.
Yeah. Cool. All right. How do expedition cards work? We get that one a lot.
Yes. So you can use those in the expedition modes.
Yes.
So you can use those. We were talking about that earlier. Just a different way to modify your gameplay experience. You can make it more difficult. You can make it easier. You can make it, more ridiculous with the big head mode or chicken bow. It's like Hot Shots Part Deuce.
And how does it work to choose? Do I get to choose my own cards, or are they randomly applied?
Yeah, you get to choose them. Okay. So you can choose, again, if you want to go for something funny, if you want to go for a high score multiplier, if you want to make it easier on yourself.
Gotcha.
And
so you earn in-game credits by playing the game or by playing the different modes, and then when you go to the store, you can purchase card packs. So different card packs will give you different level of cards.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's a big deal to get 100,000 points when you've started playing that first week, because that allows you to unlock a bunch of different packs and play the game in a bunch of different ways in the expedition modes.
Do I remember correctly? There was some sort of integration with streams that your viewers could help you pick cards, or am I just making that
up? At one point in time, yeah.
Yes, at one point in time we did have that.
Okay, cool. Good. I'm glad that I did not just completely make that up.
It would have been a good idea if if it was like, wow, that's a great idea.
And then the last question was actually the extreme survivor setting, which we went into already.
Yeah,
so,
sorry.
No, that's fine. Yeah, we get that one a lot. I'm interested to see how people are going to do that. Lara's Nightmare, going back to that one for a second, that one is really hard. So we had some fans out last night at a Square Enix gathering, and we just all kind of gathered around one as he finally got to be the first one of us to beat it.
Really?
To fully beat it, because it's different every time.
So it's procedurally generated.
Well, so that one is actually it's got three skulls that you have to find, and you have to. They are in different places each time. The ammo pickups are in different places each time, and you start in a different place. And so it's basically you have to just defeat these hordes of zombies, unending zombies, and try to find your way to find all of these items, and then do a boss battle at the end. So it's really intense. But he beat it, and we were just sitting there next to him, like, "You can do it, you can do it." We all high-fived him. So, and that was actually on the easiest difficulty setting. Just like there's 4 other difficulty settings. So I'm really excited to see videos of people.
I cannot wait to see that.
Videos of people doing this.
You're going to have to be a very resourceful player to be able to get through the entire game.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. What a challenge.
Yeah. You must be really looking forward to, I mean, I know when a project this big is kind of coming to its release, you are looking forward to it so much, and then what do you think it's going to feel like once it goes out into the world, once you kind of set it free and see people starting to enjoy it?
It's great. Like on my end, I'm so excited to see people using the classic skins. I just like my job is I'm gonna be able to find so much cool content to share of all these hilarious moments of like these really emotional moments, and then there's like this stone-faced Lara because her mouth doesn't move, and it's just I think it's gonna be so fun seeing all the content that's coming out.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What about you? Anything you're particularly looking forward to seeing people experience?
I'm a big fan of co-op. And so for people to be able to raid tombs together, I think is really fun. And it's literally a survival, kind of almost a simulation where Lara has to find food to survive. She has to stay warm. And so and each day and night gets harder and harder and harder. There's weather patterns. There's all different sorts of enemies. So it's just, I'm looking forward to seeing people play that on Twitch as well.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I'm going to challenge people and see how long they can survive.
Yeah.
So there's so many, I mean, we have a laundry list of things that are part of this celebration.
Yeah.
What things are already available to people, and for those, where should they go to find them if they want to find them? Let's start there.
Okay, so most everything has just been announced at this point, and it's coming out later this year. The book is out October 25th. The concert is December, I think it's 18th. It's in London, though, so it's very specific. You have to be in London to see it. But we'll have more information about the CDs at a later date. Tomb Raider Archives is also, I think it's December. I think in December, that's when it's coming out. In the statue series, I think we're still aiming to have one out this year.
We're aiming.
We're aiming.
Yeah,
we're perfectionists.
Yes.
These statues, they're going to be amazing.
Many different iterations.
So we're hoping to have at least one of them out this year. And then the game in just a few days.
Yes.
Awesome.
So you can go to buy.rottr.com if you want to pick up the PS4 version. If you pre-order it, you actually, or it's day 1 edition, you get an art book.
Yep.
So that comes with some packaging, which is really cool. So we had some fans commission their artwork, and we also had Andy Park, who's a very
big Tomb Raider comic artist.
Yeah. So got some of his artwork in there. It's really cool. And then if you already own the game on Xbox One or PC, you can get all the content through the Season Pass, or you can purchase this content individually with a 20-year celebration upgrade pack.
Awesome.
Very cool.
All right, so we actually get to introduce like the cool player piano thing now. So this is a huge pet project that we've been working on at the studio. We know how meaningful music is and how meaningful the Tomb Raider music is to people. It brings them back, and it is so iconic. And so we worked with a super talented team at Player Piano. They do these amazing melodies. They have the Star Wars Ultimate Melody. They have all these great melodies from huge franchises. And so it was arranged and produced and performed by Sonia Villasova. And she just worked magic on these 4 different themes from throughout franchise history, and it was directed by Tom Gray. And so it includes music from the original Tomb Raider, Angel of Darkness, Legend, and the reboot, and they filmed it out in the desert, and they did all these amazing things. They ruined a piano. You will see they decided to film in the rain, and they ruined they really committed. But so we're excited you guys get to see that now.
Can't wait. Thank you guys so much, and let's go ahead and check that out right now.
Yay.